Hey, hi geeks. Hope you're all doing good. This myself, Yogeshwaran, working here as a senior software engineer in GeekyAnts for the last 10 months. So the major tech stack which I deal with is React, React Native, and Node.js. So this is more about myself. So the topic which we are going to discuss is implementing the existing REST APIs with the GraphQL. So that is a topic which I'm going to discuss now. So before going into the topic, I hope everyone knows what is a GraphQL. So before that, I'll just give you a glimpse like what is a GraphQL. So GraphQL is nothing but a query language. So which is similar to the REST API. So which has some advantages other than REST API. So I'll just give you an example to differentiate what is a GraphQL. So let's consider you have an API. You have a API which is HTTP localhost or something slash user. So which will return all the user data, right? So in some cases, for example, let's consider the response data will has first name, last name, state, country, address of the user. So in some scenarios, I just need the first name and last name of the user. So what I'll do in the backend, I just need go there and in the return statement of the API, I'll just return the first name and last name. In some scenarios, I just need other details like student name, just address or state or country like that, right? So in that case, what I need to do is just again I need to go to the backend and do some changes, right? So this is quite annoying, right? So instead of doing these changes, what GraphQL provides us is you just need to define what are all the data you need from the backend. So you can just define the structure of the response which you need, and the GraphQL provides based on that. So this is the main difference and why people prefer GraphQL over a REST API. Another thing is like it is a GraphQL provides a single endpoint thing. So we'll discuss this further in going on the topic with this. So yeah, so why we use GraphQL over traditional API? As I mentioned, the first thing which we see here is one endpoint. So in REST API, we can see there are really multiple endpoints. Like for if you need to fetch a user details, it will be slash users. If you are fetching some other like mentor details, student details, country details, or anything, it will be slash country, slash student. But this is not a case in GraphQL. GraphQL will have only a single endpoint. So you need not to create multiple endpoints. That is the main thing why we need to go for a GraphQL. Another thing is, as I mentioned in the before thing, just a declarative response. So you can write down these are all the data I just need from the backend when I'm fetching an API. So you can declare the responses. This is the format I need, and based on that, you can get the data. So that is the second thing. And performance wise, as I mentioned, if you do these things, the GraphQL provides a better performance in comparison to the REST API and easy to understand. So as you know, when we are writing a GraphQL schema, it is easy to understand. If a developer is seeing a schema of a GraphQL, he can understand what this API does, right? So this is an API, and this is the response which I'm getting in the API. So it is pretty documented kind of a schema. So the developer can understand what this API does, and he looks into the schema. So there are some other packages to do that. If you are looking for a pretty documented way, like table structure or something, there are many packages to provide this as well. So like what GraphQL schemas are doing. So there are like GraphQL doc or something, which is similar to Swagger thing. You can have a playground as well for the GraphQL. So this is the thing where you should use a GraphQL over HTML. So this is just a glimpse. Like I'm just giving you why GraphQL and why GraphQL over HTML. So we'll just look into how to implement the GraphQL's existing REST API with the GraphQL. So first, I'll just tell you what are all the existing current GraphQL packages which will enable us to fetch the API. So there are many packages like Apollo Client, Relay, and URGiven. So these are many competitive packages. Many people prefer Apollo Client, Relay. Everything has some advantages and disadvantages, right? So here, if you consider, only one package as of now supports REST API, which is Apollo Client. So I majorly discuss everything here. This will be related to the Apollo client because this is the only package as far as I researcher to support the REST APIs in a REST API. So I'll just go ahead and uh, yeah, yeah. Sure. Yeah, just a minute. Cool. Yeah, sure. So first, what you need to do is just create a normal React app. Like you can name it as anything. But just you need to create a REST link file. So I'll just move on to the VS Code and show how can you create this. Just need to do. I'll just go to the package.json and what are the packages you need. First, you need the Apollo client package, which is a Apollo client which we need to use. Another thing which we are going to use Apollo link REST. So this is a package which is enabling us to do the link using the REST APIs in the GraphQL. So after installing these two packages, we just need to go ahead and create a REST client. So how to create a REST client? You just need to import this Apollo client package from the Apollo client. We'll in memory cache. I'll just come to this later. So you just need to import the Apollo client from this and a REST client from this Apollo link REST package. So you just need to create a new REST link. So const REST link, a new REST link, and you just need to provide the URL which are going to do the rest. So this is pretty similar, which is the REST API here. So you need not to mention the endpoints like slash user or something. Just the direct URL which you're going to define here. And to create a client, you just need to create, I'm just defining it as a REST client. You just need to define new Apollo client, which is a package providing, and you just need to pass the link as a REST link. So cache. So this is a pretty different topic which we need to discuss. But to be brief, what I can say the cache does here is like, you know what this Redis does, right? So catches the response and so which will help in fetching the same data again, right? So this which is pretty similar what Apollo does here. So this is a pretty different topic we can discuss. There is multiple things in what Apollo client does, like normalization and everything. So that is a pretty different topic. So as of now, what we did is we have created a REST client. So let's see how to query details, like how can we do a CRUD operations in using the existing REST API. So I'll go on to the PPT. So this is a let's first discuss how to do a get all call. So if you see this is first comparison. So if you this is a traditional GraphQL query. So if you see the traditional GraphQL query, what we have a query get to do's, and we are just defining the query name and which will return ID, title, and complete, right? So you may think that the converting this to a REST API is pretty difficult. No, this is pretty straightforward. What you just need to mention is just two things here. You just need to mention address here and the path of the API. So in the REST API, it will be in separate path like say, slash user something. So just need here it is a to do. So I'm getting a get to do. So path of the REST API is slash to do, right? So in the path, you just need to pass slash to do. So that's it. So if I do this, I just the same thing ID, title, and completed, it will return this. So it is pretty straightforward. You just need to do address and path to specify to do a get all call in the how to fetch the REST API using a GraphQL kind of a structure. So this I'll just go to the VS Code and show what I'm doing in the query as well. So this is the query I'm having as a get rest to do's, the get to do's, and is defining the type and path, and these are all the data which I need. So another thing which I mentioned, right? So in the GraphQL, you can define what are all the data you need from the backend. So we can predefinedly define these are all the data I need, right? We can do the same thing in the REST API kind of this structure as well. I'll just show you. Before that, I'll just go you and show what I'm doing in the get all call. So now we have defined a query, right? So let's see how to make the use of this query. So what we need to do is the Apollo client will provide a use query kind of a hook where you just need to pass the query. So what I'm doing, importing a use query hook and importing the query which I defined and importing the REST client which I have created. So I'm just using this use query hook, passing the query and I'm passing the client name. That's it. It is pretty straight, right? So I'll just get the data here and you just, rather than if you get the data, you just need to map out and display the details. So I'll just show you how this data looks. So if I go to the browser, if I go here and React app, so you can see this is a structure. So I'll just show you how the response comes here. So I'll just do you what I have did a console log to show you. So as you can see, I'm getting the response, completed, description, idle, title, and user details. So let's see whether I can declare it, whether I can do a declarative structure of a response. So I'm going to the VS Code, going to the query, I'm just removing the title, completed, and description. I just need the ID of the dodo and user details. So I'm just refreshing it, going here and doing a refresh. If you see here, I don't have any other details. I only have an ID and then the user details. So this is we can accomplish the same thing which GraphQL does in the same existing REST API. So this is a pretty advantage thing in the Apollo client. So this is done right. So we know how to do a get all call. So let's move on and see how we can do a add call in this. So I'll just go to the slide and do a slideshow. Yeah. So adding a new data to the query. So this is as mentioned, like before, we have a traditional GraphQL query. The same thing, which will do a mutation, create to do, and parameters. What are all the parameters we need to pass for the GraphQL to title, description, completed, and the user who created, and the create to do query, which will accept these and which will return these things in a response. So if you see here, the same thing which we mentioned, you just need to add a rest here and path, and to add on, you just need to pass on the method. So before it is a get call, right? Now it is a post call. So this method is post. Another thing is you can see here, which is a body key, which is I'm defining it as an input. See, as we all know in the REST API, what we'll do, we'll just pass a body in the post call, right? So we need to do same thing here. So we are defining the body key name as an input. So body key is nothing but it's a body key name. So what the key name which we send the data in the format. So here I'm defining it as an input. I'll just show you an example why we define this body key as an input. I'll just go ahead and show you the CS code add to do call. So if you see here, make use of this call, it is a mutation, right? I'm just importing this use mutation hook from the Apollo client and passing this add to do API call, add to do query. I'm defining the REST client. So that's it, right? So the main thing behind defining this body key as an input is we need to send some data to the post call, right? That's a body. So the data which I'm sending should be in the format of object which is in with the key name input. So it should be inside the key name of input. So that's the why we are defining it as a body key input. So if we are defining it as a body here, then it should be a body here. So that's the difference. So this is the body key defines what key name should be. So if we, here it is an input. So we are defining it as an input and putting all the body data inside that. So that's the difference. So this is how we can do a mutation. So I'll just go ahead in the browser and show how can we do a add call. So I'm going here. I'll just close this. Okay, just a minute. I'll need to make changes to the query. Yeah. So I'm just adding a new to do, and date will be something today is like 4 p.m. or something. I'll just show you the inspect here. Apollo networks. Okay, just I'm adding it. If you see here, it is still it is still a REST call. If you see here, HTTP localhost to do it is a post call 200, right? But we didn't do the fetch or access kind of a thing. They are just doing directly via the GraphQL with a query kind of a structure. If you even see the endpoint which is here getting called is the endpoint which we are defining here, right? If we have declared as a path. So it is going out. So the main use case of using this case is let's consider you have an application a front-end application which requires data from two different servers. One server provides the data in a GraphQL format, and another data provides the data in a REST API thing. So what you need to do, you need to in some spaces you need to visit Axios to get the data in, and some other places you need to do a GraphQL kind of a implementation to fetch those data, right? So this is a two work you need to do. So then here comes the Apollo client as a handy one, where you can just need to do a simple implementation. You can use a simple GraphQL query to both execute both REST API and GraphQL. So that is the main advantage of here. So this is done for the update call. So I'll move on and show how we can do a edit call. Okay, so I'll proceed there and show you the update call of this. So as you see this in the add to do what we did just mentioned address and path and body key input, right? This is same similar here. We are going here and defining the method as a put here and body key as an input and type path as a to do, and this is an ID. So which argument, which to do I'm going to make an update. So that's it. So there are just two parameters and it is going to execute. Just I'll go here and I'll do play credible and I'll just do updated one. And if I do an update here, if you see here, it's still the same REST API call, right? HTTP localhost to do and to do ID. But we are executing it in the GraphQL format. So, and I'm getting the if everything is similar, you'll see the response and everything here, right? So that's it. This is how you execute the update to do. So to move further, let's see how to do a delete call as well. So if you see here, the delete call, which will have a delete to do string and just pass on the ID which I need to delete to do, and same as before, I'm just defining the rest type and path to do an argument which I need to delete, and the method as a delete thing. So as we all know, delete call doesn't provide any response, so there will be no response, right? We're just defining it, no response will be there. So it's the same thing. I'm going here and like let's say take an example. I'm deleting this, clicking on a delete. If you see here, this will be a delete call. If you see here, delete call with passing on the ID. So yeah, this is how we can implement the existing GraphQL, existing REST APIs with GraphQL. So yeah, that's it from my side. If you have any questions.